watching online. If you are attending the Loop campus or Mason Creek, we welcome both of y'all. We're glad y'all are here with us this morning. We're going to be looking at a passage out of 1 Samuel chapter 25. Now, this particular passage, David is still on the run from Saul after Saul had tried to kill him. And this is after David could have killed him that first time. So mind you, it's not the second, but it's the first. So it's right in the middle. This is where David finds himself in the wilderness as Nabal and Abigail. So it says, now Samuel died, and all Israel assembled and mourned for him, and they buried him at his home in Ramah. Then David moved down into the desert of Paran. A certain man in Moab, who had property there at Carmel, was very wealthy. He had 1,000 goats and 3,000 sheep. That's a lot of sheep. Which he was shearing in Carmel. His name was Nabal, and his wife's name was Abigail. She was an intelligent and beautiful woman. Now, intelligent, if you look at it, it's prudence or insight in the Hebrew. ESV translation translates it as discernment. So she's very discerning. She's a very wise woman. But her husband was surly and mean in his dealings. He was a Calebite. Now, Calebite was a descendant, of course, of Caleb. The Septuagint translates this, it describes him as a very doggish man. Remember, Caleb means dog, so it's describing him as a very doggish man, and we actually, that proves true as we read throughout this story. He was a very wicked man. It says, when David was in the wilderness, he heard that Nabal was shearing sheep, so he sent 10 young men and said to them, go up to Nabal at Carmel and greet him in my name. Say to him, long life to you, good health to you and your household, and good health to all that is yours. Now I hear that it is sheep shearing time. When your herds were with us, we did not mistreat them, and the whole time they were at Carmel, nothing of theirs was missing. Ask your own servant, and they will tell you. Therefore be favorable toward my men, since we have come at a festive time. Please give your servants and your son David whatever you can find for them. Now he was a very rich man, so he had the ability to help them. When David's men arrived, they gave Nabal this message in David's name. Then they waited. Nabal answered David's servants, who is this David? Who is the son of Jesse? Many servants are breaking away from their masters these days. Why should I take my bread and water and the meat I have slaughtered for my shearers and give it to men coming from who knows where? David's men turned around and went back. When they arrived, they reported every word. David said unto his men, his first response, each of you strap on your sword. So they did, and David strapped his on as well. About 400 men went up with David, while 200 stayed with the supplies. Enter Abigail. One of the servants told Abigail, Nabal's wife, David sent messengers from the wilderness to give our master his greetings. But he hurled insults at them. Yet these men were very good to us. They did not mistreat us, and the whole time we were out in the field near, they did nothing. Fields near, there was nothing missing. Nothing was missing. So this proves true to the report that David's men brought to Nabal. This was one of Abigail's servants who served Nabal. Night and day they were on the wall around us. The whole time we were herding our sheep near them. Now think it over and see what you can do, because disaster is hanging over our master and his whole household. He is such a wicked man that no one can talk to him. So verse 18, Abigail acted very quickly. She took 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, 5 dressed sheep, 5 seahs of roasted grain, 100 cakes of raisin, and 200 cakes of pressed figs, and loaded them on donkeys. She was working quick. Then she told her servants, go ahead and I'll follow you. But she did not tell her husband Nabal. Now, this is where she was coming up to David. And it says she went down on her knees. But before she did that, David had just said, it's been useless. All my watching over this fellow's property in the wilderness, and nothing of his was missing. And he has paid back evil for good. Now, Proverbs 17:13, we read that anyone who pays back evil for good, that wickedness will never leave the household. May God deal with David, be it ever so severely, if by morning I leave one male of all who belong to him. When Abigail saw David, she quickly got off her donkey and bowed down before him. David, with her face to the ground, she fell at his feet and said, pardon your servant, my lord, and let me speak to you. Hear what your servant has to say. Please pay no attention, my lord, to that wicked man Nabal. He is just like his name. His name means fool, and folly goes with him. And as for me, your servant, I did not see the men my lord sent. Just saying, I didn't see the men that you sent to talk to Nabal. Only he talked with him. And now, my Lord, as surely as the Lord your God lives and as you live, since the Lord has kept you from bloodshed and from avenging your own hands, may your enemies and all who are intent on harming my Lord be like Nabal. And let this gift which your servant has brought to my Lord be given to the men who follow you. Please forgive your servant's presumption. The Lord your God will certainly make a lasting dynasty for my Lord. So she was speaking of the Lord's calling on David's life to be king. So she was saying the Lord is going to fulfill this, speaking of what would come and what was already is. By this time, God had already rejected Saul as king. The Lord your God will certainly make a lasting dynasty for my Lord because you fight the Lord's battles and no wrongdoing will be found in you as long as you live. A man, describing him as a man after God's own heart. Even though someone is pursuing you to take your life, Saul, the life of my Lord will be bound securely in the bundle of the living by the Lord your God, but the lives of your enemies he will hurl away as from the pocket of a sling. Going back to David and Goliath, this woman, as it says, is very prudent, is very wise. It's one of my favorite women in all of the Bible. And no wrongdoing will be found in you as long as you live. Even though someone is pursuing you to take your life, the life of my Lord will be bound securely in the bundle. We read that, sorry. Verse 30, when the Lord has fulfilled for my Lord every good thing he promised concerning him and has appointed him ruler over Israel, my Lord will not have on his conscience the staggering burden of needless bloodshed or having avenged himself. So at this point, the Lord sent Abigail to stop David from doing it. Stop David from trying to get revenge, from trying to get even. And somebody put it really good. I really liked it. It says, why do you want to be even with someone you don't even like? Why do you want to be even? Why do you want to get even with someone you don't even like? Because the minute we try to take revenge, we become like the other party. So if someone, Scripture says, someone hits you on one side of your cheek, turn to the other side. It's this thing of not wanting to avenge. Romans chapter 12, it is mine to avenge, says the Lord. I will repay. I will repay. It says, return good with evil. If someone treats you wrongly, treat them good. And so God sent Abigail to David to do this. And so you won't be burdened by the guilt of needless bloodshed. And if we look in the future with David and Bathsheba and her husband, we could see the needless bloodshed. And so it's just a very sobering moment of seeing that Abigail sent David not only to stop him here, but to try to give him wisdom to stop what he would do in the future, which is very interesting. It says, and when the Lord your God has brought my Lord success, remember your servant. Verse 32, David said to Abigail, praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, who sent you today to meet me. May you be blessed for your good judgment, for keeping me from bloodshed this day, and from avenging myself with my own hands. Other translations say, ESV, I think it says that I have not worked salvation in my own hand. So it's this idea that we're not trying to avenge ourselves. We're not trying to save ourselves. The Lord fights our battles. The Lord is our defender. And so we don't need to exact vengeance. We need to let the Lord take them. Now he accepted the gifts. Abigail went back to Nabal. Nabal was throwing this big festive party, and it says he was drunk with wine. And so she waited until the next morning to tell him this, because he did not know what transpired and what she had took to David with the gifts in the conversation. So after this, morning came. When Abigail went to Nabal, he was in the house holding a banquet like that of a king. He was in high spirits and very drunk. So she told him nothing at all until daybreak. Then in the morning, when Nabal was sober, his wife told him all these things, and his heart failed him, and he became like a stone. About 10 days later, the Lord struck Nabal, and he died. When David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, praise be the Lord, who has upheld my cause against Nabal for treating me with contempt. He has kept for his servant from doing wrong, and has brought Nabal's wrongdoing down on his own head. Then David sent word to Abigail, asking her to become his wife. His servants went to Carmel and said to Abigail, David has sent us to you to take you to become his wife. She bowed down with her face to the ground and said, I am your servant and ready to serve you and wash the feet of my Lord's servants. Abigail quickly got on a donkey and, attended by her 5 female servants, went with David's messengers and became his wife. David had also married Ahinoam of Jezreel, and they were both his wives, but Saul had given his daughter Michal, David's wife, to Paltiel, son of Laish, who was from Gad. Exacting revenge. Might have heard this before. It's like a double. It's like poison. You have the cup of revenge and you drink it, and wow, it's killing your enemy. It's killing you as well. It's not healthy. And someone, when I listened to a sermon on this, and it was very powerful. He said, when you have a situation in your life, and you have the opportunity to exact revenge or to respond with goodness, what story do you want to tell? When you're telling someone this story, will it be something that you're proud of? Will it be something that you're ashamed of? Now, we can learn from our mistakes, but wouldn't it be so much more refreshing to be able to tell this story to someone? It's like, listen, I know it's hard, but the Lord has worked in my life and has spared me from doing the same, and I know He can do the same for you. So when your life, when situations are nothing more than stories to share with people to help them, what story do you want to tell? Do you want to tell one of exacting vengeance, or do you want to tell one of peace? Do you want to tell one of, yes, I repaid them good for evil. They gave me evil, but I gave them good. What story do you want to tell? Let's be like Abigail. Let's be like Abigail. Humble, wise, prudent. Let's be like Abigail. Let's be like David. Let's be humble to see the people that God brings in our lives to stop us from doing wrong. Let's be wise. Let's be visible. Let us look and see everything that God has for us. And when He sends people to correct us or to stop us, let us respond with a humble heart. Respond with David's heart. A man truly who serves the Lord, who loved Him with all his heart, soul, mind, and strength. Lord bless you and keep you this day according to His word and the power of His name. We will see y'all on Sunday. Remember, the Loop campus has 8:15 and 10:45 with life groups at 9:30. Mason Creek has a 9:30 service with 10:45 life groups. We hope to see y'all there. Y'all have absolutely a blessed day.